Reach my imagination to look to my direction. So I please call my name when I'm talking, cause I'm very sure. See, I've been wondering why it's hard to please your own. Often they dry your bones and take the curve that's not your own. When we cannot bless all, we just pass down lessons on them before. When we cannot resist to rejection, but we can seek redemption.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad that you joined us at this juncture. I want to say hello. And once more, like you've always known on this platform, my name is Tataw. I am your host. Usually, because of the stakes involved in social media presentations, we would obviously come up from time to time to give our opinions and editorials on some of the issues that are affecting particular countries. But as you are all aware, because of the situation in Cameroon, our focus has been quite tremendous in that part of Africa and the world per se. And before we continue, I want to seize this opportunity to salute the ingenuity of Venutina, Cameroonian artist. She's probably one of our best, the cream de la cream, because she sings a very unique, her genre is quite unique, and so that is Wewe as a new track by Venutina, and we're quite pleased to identify with that great princess from Saw in Cameroon's Northwest. For people who are joining from other parts of the world, especially for those who call themselves Ambazonia, want to caution you on your rhetorics, on your operations, and kind of like very bogus statements on why we would be referring to Venutina as an artist from Cameroon's Northwest. This is because this is National Telegraph, and we have warned severally that if you're watching Eric Tataw on National Telegraph, you must consider it like you're watching CNN or other news platforms, and we are not obliged to subscribe to your personal ideologies, you know, but we will obviously stand for the truth and for justice. And this is justice we want to talk about. We start with Joshua Ossih, who is a parliamentarian for one of Cameroon's leading opposition party, SDF, the Social Democratic Front of Nijon Fundi. And of course, it is very important, it's very, very important for people to air their views about particular issues, and we are not in any way trying to take away the First Amendment rights of Joshua Ossih or his freedom of speech and expression, but we have the right to try to identify some portions of his contents that were contrary to justice, repugnant to societal norms, and that, of course, not helping in ending the Anglophone crisis. As you are all aware, the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon, otherwise known as Southern Cameroon, as much as some people call it Ambazonia, have been in an armed conflict for the past 4 years, And for these 4 years, Cameroon's parliamentarians have deliberately refused to discuss an issue as important as an armed conflict that has claimed the lives of over 25,000 English-speaking Cameroonians, aka Ambazonians, and that has caused the jailing of over more than 10,000 people. And of course, we can not count precisely the number of refugees. They could be in the neighborhood of over 3 million, given the fact that some people prefer to call the internally displaced as refugees because of their particular policies. Now, let me be clear. The truth is that many senators signed a document reacting to a letter United States members of House of Representatives wrote to their president, President Joe Biden. And of course, that is in no way to say that Cameroonian parliamentarians don't have a right to react to issues that other parliamentarians write. But then they say he who comes to equity must come with a clean hand. And this is where we stand. True enough, many other parliamentarians signed that particular letter where Cameroonian parliamentarians were, condemning U.S. Members of House of Representatives, or should I just say congressmen and women, for writing and indicating to their presidency about the situation in Cameroon that we all know is a reality. But then we are picking out Joshua Ossih because that is somebody who represents, the main Anglophone political party that is within the French system, and listen, let me be honest with all of you, right? It is not baffling because these are people who have sold their consciences to the devil. We must say this, whether or not you like it. And this is our opinion. To be honest, at this juncture, there is widespread outcry, and we support it, that Joshua Ossih should just resign. Okay? There is no way you can have somebody who is supposed, what is the role of a politician, a parliamentarian, a representative? You must represent the views of your constituency or the views of particular people in areas that give power or some steam to your party. And it is so important for us to say this. It's a disgrace looking at what has happened, and Joshua Ossih has absolutely no justification. Yes, it's freedom of speech, but it doesn't mean because you have freedom of speech, you should just go out there and say anything. It's a disappointment, and politicians like that should not exist. They should not be talking on behalf of political parties. Opposition in other countries stand with the population. For 4 years, the regime in Yaoundé has killed countless Ambazonians. We are just estimating the numbers at 25,000. That is an estimate. It might be underreported, but because we don't have our hands on the exact figure, we just say over 25,000. Okay, the truth is that some international bodies have reported 3,000 or 4,000, which of course has never changed according to them. But let me say this to all of you. At the National Telegraph, we believe the numbers are way over 25,000. And that is a fact, because we've been covering this crisis for the past 4 years. And we think over 25,000 people have been killed or are unaccounted for. Now, let me be clear. When you are an MP and there is a lot of trouble in a particular region, there are a few things you should do. Stand with the people, represent their views, or you stay quiet. And we think that give and take, while this provides an opportunity for Anglophones to speak up their minds and tell Joshua Ossih how fundamentally useless he has become, how he's completely out of track with the aspiration of the people, we must also say that the fact that those parliamentarians reacted to the United States congressmen and women seriously belittles and flattens the position of the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, who of course said that nothing more was happening in those regions. If indeed nothing was actually happening, his parliamentarians would not have reacted in that manner. The President or Speaker of the National Assembly of Cameroon Cavalier Givlet said once, and probably many times, that nothing related to the Anglophone crisis would be discussed in the parliament, that it will not be tolerated. But what happens today? If MPs can write reacting to the U.S. Congress, to U.S. congressmen and women, it tells the international community of the deteriorating situation in those two regions. And like you followed the report from Human Rights Watch, reporting a story about a bomb that most of us, if not all of us, were not aware of it. You know, in journalism and in investigation, stories are not just created. You get hints and you investigate. Like we have reported and repeatedly denied the fake news from Batibo. We have now confirmed that everything that Human Rights Watch reported about EBAM, they are facts. We have called people from EBAM because that is not some space. That is why we warned a lot of Ambazonians who were trying to push through the fake news about Batibo that you cannot report about a place without knowing the exact place and victims that are involved. From all the villages in Batibo, nobody can pinpoint where that incident of the burning of the child happened. But then we can say that the Cameroon military raided a bomb and raped women over more than 20. And that is a fact. Because we have also at the National Telegraph, following the investigation from Human Rights Watch, we have investigated and we have confirmed with families this particular date that this is exactly what happened. And this is how we're going to put it. Without fear or favor, we can tell the international community that the EBAM issue is the worst massacre that happened within the Anglophone crisis that was not reported. And that is why we say things are actually underreported when it comes to the Anglophone crisis. So we call on the international community, the United Nations, and other international organizations to prop this issue and have justice served to those people or those in those communities. We have seen situations in Gabu, Kumba, many areas, Mautu, and victims have stayed without being served justice, and perpetrators have gone without any punishment. This should not be done. And National Telegraph will continuously advocate for these facts. So it is a shame that Joshua Ossih has not reacted to issues of international law and misguided diplomacy by the Cameroon government or Cameroon authorities. And I will cite to Joshua Ossih, since he claims to know a lot about international law. National Telegraph thinks that all media organs should talk about how oppressed people should be served justice. And Joshua Ossih has just raised the bar. He has just actually lowered the bar. He has raised the bar of stupidity too high for anybody to consider Cameroon or any Cameroonian MP as getting anywhere close to being serious. When Sisiku Ayokabe Julius, the president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, was repatriated, extradited to Cameroon, alongside 10 others. We have the Calabar 37 and many other Southern Cameroonians or Cameroonians, whatever way you put it, that have been repatriated from the United States, repatriated from, extradited from Nigeria, taken, arrested or kidnapped, as some people would prefer to put it. Joshua Ossih never said a thing. And how come he's talking about international law? He knows nothing about international law. So we want to say that Joshua Ossih has proven to be a complete disgrace of a parliamentarian, and there is no way people like that should be talking. It's a disgrace, and I think that was the end of his political career, putting his signature on such a ridiculous document. That document was absolutely ridiculous, and everybody read it. It was terrible, okay? So I want to thank you all. When you join, make sure you share extensively, and we keep the faith. We know it's been a long time that we've not been on the platform on a live show because, I mean, you know, we have exigencies, and the social media atmosphere is very terrible. You know what we're talking about. We're not going to compromise this space like we've said before. Now, when you join, you make sure you share, and hashtag Joshua Ossih resign. You can put J-O. I think it's Ossih, right? J-O, resign. J-O should resign. It's very important. It's fundamental. Those are people who went to the parliament to represent their people, but they are representing a blood-sucking regime. How can you explain the fact that teenage boys were killed in Bamenda? Joshua Ossih never said a thing. Students are raped in schools. Others are massacred every day, and you don't say a thing, and you react to something that the United States is saying. And this is a beacon of hope for all those who are seeking justice in Cameroon's northwest and southwest, you must be sure that justice will be served. It doesn't matter. It's going to take too long. It's going to take maybe too short a time, but you can't have a timetable. But one thing is certain, that we're following up, we know justice will be served. Now, while we've talked extensively on the atrocities of the Cameroon government, usually we want these shows to be very brief. I want to come down to Southern Cameroonians, those of you who call yourselves Ambazonians and you are in the diaspora, and to say that just a few days ago, there was a protest in Washington, D.C., and many protests have been happening around the globe. And we think it's concerning, and it's a terrible thing, because Ambazonians know there are about 8 million or more, and the diaspora could give about 2 million of that population or thereabout. In the United States, there could be up to hundreds of thousands. I can't exactly put the figures on my fingertips. But then, how do you explain the fact that those of you who claim you are fighting for freedom, you concentrate on making sure there's division on the ground, making sure your fighters are fighting among themselves, and you're always running to claim credit, while in your backyards, there are issues of protest, international diplomacy, that you can help to expose your own fight and bring justice to your people, but you don't go to those protests. All what you do, you stay in the diaspora, you take money, you claim you are fighting for the revolution. Look at the protests in Washington, D.C. that happened in front of the White House. I was there in my capacity as an activist. Of the hundreds of thousands of Amazonians, that protest was announced, and only 4 persons were there, myself and 3 other persons, 2 guys and a boy and a girl. 4 persons of hundreds of thousands of Amazonians. And it gives me a lot of joy to ask a simple question, that those who claim that others are compromised, how come those people that they claim they try to portray as compromised are the same people who go to gatherings where there are white people, where there are people from different countries, and talk about Ambazonia or talk about their struggle and expose their atrocities with placards and flyers and carry the Ambazonian flag, opposed to them who stay in their houses and only make noise on Facebook? We want to ask a question. Can you name one Southern Cameroonian in the last 6 months? Last 6 months that has been out there to protest and portray the Ambazonian revolution? The answer will probably be just 4. The last 4 of us you saw. And these people who stay back, all what they do, they inspire conspiracies, cause division, and do nothing. And so how do you explain that you call yourself leaders, you're in the diaspora, they're killing your people, and when there are opportunities to go for protest, you don't go, but you stay on Facebook and instead call those who go for protest that they are compromised? How is it possible that somebody can be working with the Cameroon regime and that same person is carrying the Ambazonian flag and talking against the Cameroon government in crowds as huge as thousands of people and calling the U.S. government, and of course going out there making sure that U.S. congressmen and women get information about Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia? So it's a terrible thing. And that is why some of those people who are pro-Biya, they call it kind of like a comedy revolution or what? Because you concentrate on stealing money from the minority, from people who are struggling to get liberation. All what you do, you ask for contributions. Even when you can go to Washington, D.C., that is 5 minutes away from your house, you cannot sacrifice. But you want people to continuously stay in the bushes. You want boys to stay out there and keep fighting. And even when they struggle to do that, what do? You only come in to claim credit and responsibility. Look at the most ridiculous lie that was said the last few days. A certain Capo Daniel of the ADF said that he was on the ground to launch some forces. We have all put our cameras everywhere, and the answer says that is the biggest lie. And it was unnecessary for the ADF to come out to spin that kind of lies telling, that kind of conspiracy. How is it possible that the other fighters who were launching whatever force they call it, did that, recorded that video, and then later on when they have gone to their bases, they put out that video on Facebook and other social media platforms for us to see. And then somebody stays in Asia and says that he was on the ground. But when that video was being put out there, he was not seen. How is it possible that you went for a launching and there's no picture, you are nowhere to be found with any of those fighters? You say you kept yourself somewhere, you are hiding from the Cameroon government. it was not a live show. If those fighters who are on the ground, they could show their faces, record the video. If I go to Cameroon, for example, or I go somewhere, I will put a video. And when I come back to the United States, that video will be out there. So let us be prudent. It is important that lies tellings must not be tolerated. And that is the biggest lie that the ADF said. It was the most childish, so ridiculous. And you should stop it. Because you might have a good leader, but the lies that you tell to frustrate the man's plan. Ayabacho could be a good leader, but all of you come out to always lie, say things that will make people look at any other thing that Ayabacho says as some childish stuff. And that's how we look at it at the National Telegraph. How is it possible that somebody said that he left Asia and went to ground zero, like they call it, and he launched a new fighting force, and he was not found in the video during the launching? That video was not live. It was recorded. So if those fighters could actually go out there, take a video, record a video, and come days later to put it on social media, when you have arrived back to your base in China, then you should be in that video. Oh, perhaps you forgot to do a photo shoot. All right. Or Photoshop. So that is the first thing I want to point out, which is very important. National Telegraph is here for justice. While we condemn the atrocities of the Cameroon government, we must point to the rebels, the places that they are going wrong, so that they can correct it. Secondly, Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. We've all seen what happened. And this is not National Telegraph saying it. This is what you know. That the Mount Cameroon, the mountain race held in Biya, that is supposed to be the capital of the Federal Republic of Amazonia. And people who collected money worth over $2 million of US dollars, according to what they said and announced in the early days when they were priding themselves as those with the highest donor and those with the highest support. And their so-called leader is supposed to be from the Biya area. And you allow mountain race to hold. No single obstacle. And the government had it just so easy. These are signs. And anybody who is an Amazonia, as you call yourself, you must concentrate on identifying the figures and the signs. It was a disgrace. Whether or not you like it. None of you came out to condemn it. That, okay, listen, we contributed money. Why did the mountain race hold? That is a crucial question. It held for one reason. Because you have been deceived. Because those you call leaders, they are crooks, they are armed robbers, they are thieves. All what they concentrate on is stealing money. And I will not stop talking about it. Let us be very, very straightforward. If you cannot, after collecting $2 million, disturb the mountain race or disturb African championship, then you don't have nothing to say. And right in your backyard, all of them stay here. From Bon Herbert, Kometa Elvis, Sako Ikome, Chris Anu. All of them are in Washington, D.C., with the exception of Chris Anu that is in Houston, Texas, which, of course, during good times, flight from Houston, Texas to Maryland could be just $200. And these are people who take a lot of money. And they claim they have a lot of followers. And there was a protest here where you could speak to Biden directly, President Biden directly. What happened? You didn't come. But you stay on social media and you make noise. And 4 of us went there. And tomorrow you come and say that this very guy who went there is compromised. Of course, there is only one reason why. There could be 2 reasons, as a matter of fact. To say that somebody who goes for protest, talks on behalf of Amazonia, preaches against the Cameroon government, exposes the atrocities, and plans diplomatic seats. To say somebody like Eric Tataw is against the revolution, that only means one thing. It means the person who is saying that has a language deficiency. It means the person does not understand the meaning of against. Against does not mean, maybe they are mistaken against or for. Because against does not mean for. I think it's an issue of grammar. It's language. They have not understood. Because if there is one person that is not against the revolution, it could only be somebody who goes to protest against the regime. That could only be so. So it is important to understand that there is hope. Those videos are there. Somebody cannot take 3, 4, 5 minutes on a public stage in Washington, D.C., preach the need for justice and international mediation, exposes the Cameroon government as having killed 25 people, and you stay somewhere in your bedroom stealing money from vulnerable Ambazonians to come and begin to spin conspiracies that he works for the Cameroon government. And let me be clear, like I've always said, this is my dictatorial. The day Eric Tataw would turn his back against Ambazonia, it will be done. But of course, it cannot be so done because one person does not control the revolution. And let us be clear. Washington, D.C. is a maximum of 20 minutes, 30 minutes drive from most of your houses. Whether you live in Lanham, Bowie, Baltimore, Virginia, Delaware, most of you, the White House could be about that estimated time. On an average, those who live far away, like in New York, like Salas Atepo, could be like 3 hours away, and some areas like Wilmington and Delaware could be like 1 hour, 30 minutes. But on average, those in the DMV area, Virginia, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and then they could just be around the corners for 30 minutes. You cannot spend 30 minutes or 1 hour to cut away from your job to come for a protest in Washington, D.C., and you stay in your houses and you're making noises about somebody who spends his time, pays, packing from his pocket. He goes to a protest, and you stay in your houses, you're spinning conspiracy. Let me tell you, people, if there's one genuine Ambazonia, is that guy called Eric Tataw. He goes to all protests, preaches Ambazonia, goes with the flag when he represents Ambazonia as an activist. When he talks on National Telegraph as a journalist, he speaks the truth. And one of the truths I just spoke about Capo Daniel, who claimed that he went to somewhere on Grand Zero, he did not go. Another truth I spoke about Field Marshal, who killed 3 chiefs in a Salter. And we're seizing this medium, this opportunity to ask Chris Anu and the rest of his cronies to call Field Marshal to apologize to the Libyan people. Those issues will not be tolerated. There is no way at this moment, 2021, we are going to tolerate people who kill our chiefs. And I warned in one of my dictatorials that was a ploy from the Cameroon government. As soon as that happened, the Canadian embassy, British embassy, or British High Commissioner or Commission, the US embassy, all of them and many other diplomatic missions in Yaoundé and abroad, they removed statements condemning that and trying to attack us like we were some gangs of thieves or something. So let us be precautious. The time is now, and truth must prevail. And one thing this young man is going to say here is that, to be honest, for all those of you residing in the United States and calling yourself leaders, you are leaders in your houses, leaders in your pockets, because you are only using that title to steal money from the people. I challenge you, there's another protest on the 10th of March. It's going to start at 10 a.m. in Washington, D.C., same place. Come in front of the White House. We're going to put that up. All of you who call yourselves Ambazonians, let's meet there. Get your flags. They're talking about immigration. They're talking about issues in countries. Come there and make sure you represent your people. Stop staying in your houses, stealing money from vulnerable people, and thinking that those who go out there will stay quiet while you try to brandish them whatever way. No, it's not going to work. As you know, Eric Tataw always says this. The truth is simple. We must speak it and speak it to the last. And let me be very clear. I will not tolerate any Ambazonia in the United States or elsewhere trying to tarnish my image, because I fight for the good of this movement. And as a journalist, I report stories the way I'm supposed to report them. We stand for it. We fight for it, because justice must be done. Let me just quote you, Andrew, the issue between Andrew Cuomo and Chris Cuomo, the governor of New York, and his brother who works with CNN. Andrew Cuomo has said it very clearly. Andrew Cuomo is being accused of issues related to sex. That's the governor. His brother, Christopher Cuomo, says on Cuomo Primetime that, yes, it's the truth. He is not able to report it because his brother is involved. That is a fact. That is why many judges have recused themselves from cases when it's related to their friends. But this journalist has not. Normally, I should not be reporting issues related to Cameroon, Ambazonia, and all of those things. But because of the dignity of our investigation and the integrity that as an individual I've stamped on this media organ, we still remain the most credible when it comes to journalism facts within and without Cameroon. And so it is very important for you to make as a priority to shun away from these cheap conspiracies and gossips that have no headway. I still challenge you. There are protests. You can organize protests on your own. Go to London, Denmark, everywhere. None of you go anywhere. When I was in Washington, D.C. recently, there was snow. It was damn cold. People were out there in their thousands from different countries. And only 4 Ambazonians were there. And you people live here, a lot of you live here within the United States, and you are completely unable to get anywhere close to where there are protests in order to signify the significance of an international mediation. But you steal from the people, and those things must stop. So we are calling on Field Marshal to understand that the issue of the chiefs that were murdered in the slaughter cannot go unpunished. Field Marshal must come out, apologize to the people of Asota, apologize to the people of the BLM, apologize to the entire Southern Cameroon community, and seek for forgiveness. It's disgraceful, it's preposterous that after killing 3 chiefs, kidnapping our people, his brother Chris Anu stays in Houston and comes out with a concocted story to come and tell people how it was done by this and that. No, the BLM people are not stupid. They were stupid before, but they are no longer stupid. Everybody knows exactly what's going on, and they know who are patriots. And so it must stop, and it stops here and now. Now, let me get to other significant issues that I think I've jotted. And it is important for all other Cameroonian MPs to know that those 8 million people are not going to give up. You can measure the temperature. Contrary to what the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, calls pockets of resistance, he has seen that the guys have so far developed. Since the last time Paul Atanganji said there were pockets of resistance, there have been at least 6 explosives. And over probably 18 Cameroonian soldiers have been killed in those attacks. From Tinto in Upper Banyan, between Tinto and Bakebe, to Bui, to other areas within Bamenda, and you can name the rest. You have seen that the fighters are consistent. And this is what the Cameroon government should do. Call for dialogue, call for negotiation with a third party out of Cameroon, and make sure that you sit with the Ambazonian leaders as equal. I want to go to those in jail within the crisis, vis-a-vis those who are liberated. And we still want to continuously say that without calling any name or any particular names. We have one of our sisters who just died in the jails because she was given sugar while she has diabetes. May her soul rest in peace. We're going to bring up that story fully. What I want to cite here is how disgraceful it is for some people who are free to continuously call prisoners that they are compromised. There is no compromised person that's in jail. Anybody who is in jail knows how to walk away. If they want to walk away, they can strike a deal. And let me tell you one thing that you don't know. Prisoners of war are so powerful, so much so that if Sisi Kwayokabe Julius, Tassan Wilfred, Vorgalafo, Penteres, Manchum BBC, and the rest of them in jail were to get up on a single day and make a statement that they don't want this Ambazonian stuff no more, none of you in the diaspora will speak anymore. It will be over. Let me tell you, whether or not you like it, they are so powerful. Their strength is 10 billion times compared to any other person in the diaspora, including this Eric Tataw speaking here. So it's about time you started putting your acts together and stay calm and allow those people to serve their time in jail while they are waiting for some miracle from genuine patriots that will liberate them. Because to be honest, liberation will not come from people who stole $2 million or $1.4 million and who pay surrogates on social media and transport Francophone activists from Yaoundé to Ouagadougou to Norway to be doing activism from there. There is no way you can be using money meant to feed refugees to be paying people salaries to be doing activism for you and defending you on social media while refugees are dying in Calabar, in penury, in beggary, and most of the girls in Douala and other parts are doing prostitution because of the outcome or the aftermath of the revolution. There are refugees in Ghana, Ethiopia, you can name the rest, Malawi, those in Dubai. All of you stay there without a future, but you keep supporting thieves and armed robbers who are feeding fat from the revolution, paying their bills, and are on no employment in the United States. There is no explanation why anybody in the United States who thinks they are fighting for liberation should be unemployed. And if you ask me, how are you going to sustain the war in the next 3 or 4 years? You need people who are vibrant economists, vibrant entrepreneurs to assist you. So the story is simple. We stay focused, and this is an editorial. I will say it repeatedly that lies should not be tolerated. And for those of you within the ADF camp who always repeat the fact that Ayabacho is the one who will save Ambazonia, I think differently about that. I don't have nothing against Ayabacho. I have nothing against the ADF. I think that if anything has to happen for the crisis in the Cameroons, Northwest and Southwest to stop, and for the Ambazonians to get real freedom, it's going to be the collective effort of 8 million Ambazonians, not a particular person. As you are all aware, and I'll repeat it, your statements have made Ayabacho very unpopular. And the earlier you stop, the better. Now, I will end today by talking about this Amba general that has, of course, defected. And General Godi Elangwe defected, and you see the jubilation within the camp. Like I've said, I want to repeat it categorically. And the last time General Godi spoke, he spoke with Lucas Asu of the ADF. That is the person who connected him to go drop his weapon with La République du Cameroon. I have warned the ADF, and I'm still going to say it repeatedly, without fear or favor, that Lucas Asu works with the Cameroon government. I'm saying it authoritatively for these two fellows, Lucas Asu and Kemi Asu. They work with the Cameroon government, and I don't have any issues with these people, and that is exactly the more reason why the ADF must be careful. But if ADF wants to continuously being uncareful, that is their problem. But my job is simple, is to bring out the truth, release the truth. So the person who convinced Godi Elangwe to drop his weapon is Lucas Asu of the ADF. I'm saying it authoritatively. I've had issues with Tapang Ivo. I've never come to say Tapang Ivo did this or did that. We've had issues that were related to things that you've all read and you've seen. But never a day I've come to accuse Tapang of being La République du Cameroon or even Cho Ayaba. It has never happened. But if I come out to accuse somebody who is having a lightweight within the ADF, you can imagine how important that is for you to take. Godi Elangwe defected, and you see, if you are not careful, you see more people. This general was fighting with the ADF before. He first of all was in Kwakwa before he left and came towards Kumba. And it's a shame that Lucas Asu could do a thing like this and pretends to be with the Ambazonian people. Let me be very clear. This is a fact, and consider the fact the way I've given you. I know ADF is always running to do disclaimers, but we are not going to tolerate people who are sellouts, who are not truthful to the people they serve. That is why this is an editorial. We can give our opinions and we can cite facts the way we see them, and that's exactly one of the things, we must all say. Now, let us be clear. Like most of you have been following up, I've asked that you guys should hashtag Joshua Ossih resign now. Everybody who's watching should hashtag that, and if you have not shared this video, make sure you share it extensively. I'm going to end this show by thanking a lot of you who are always very great, close to 1,000 people watching after no announcement in a long time. We are quite grateful that you're always on this platform. In the meantime, our Dimples platform is coming up very strongly. We are hopeful it will be launched this March. So once it's available on the Play Store and on all other devices, we are going to announce it. And we have great promotions that will come with Dimples, like the first 100 people to create accounts will earn something. The first 1,000 people to make comments and stuff like that. So we are drawing all the business plan up to encourage you to make sure you're there, because it is the best for Africa and for the world as we try to build it to perfection, so that it's never going to be perfect, but we're going to have all your suggestions. All right. So I want to thank everybody so that we are going to remain on course. I will just reply to one comment. Somebody says you've been paid by La République to discredit Lucas Asu. No, for the longest time, the AGF people have said a lot of things about Eric Tataw, but Eric Tataw has never come to reply to it. But let me just reply to this. If La République was going to pay me to discredit somebody, it would not be Lucas Asu. It could be Tapang Ivo, Cho Ayaba, Mark Barretta. There's no way. And there's no way Eric Tataw can be working with La République when he's the only Ambazonian in the last 8 months or more that went under the call in the protest to condemn La République, expose their atrocity to President Biden. Okay, so there is no way. So what you're saying is not in line with anything that is related to to Eric Tataw. And one most important thing that before I forget, there is a fake account going on. You see it is written Barretta News. Mark Barretta has no account in his name. That account has been created by Cameroon agents to ensure that they cause confusion. They have taken old videos of Mark Barretta and uploaded them on those accounts. So the only time you should take information from Mark Barretta, make sure you take note of his Twitter handler, take note of Mark Barata live show, and most time now Mark Barata does live videos on Southern Cameroon's activist front. So any personal account on Facebook, either Mark Barata, Barata News, there is no personal Mark Barata account on Facebook. So any account you've seen on Facebook the last days spinning conspiracies about Mark Barata, that account is fake 100%. So I want you all to know that that account run out there is not Mark Barata. I've taken note of it. They do videos, they post a lot of things, post good, bad, and ugly to confuse you. Their intention is that they want to post things that are discouraging to your revolution, and then they share it around. So it is important for you to know that Mark Barata does not run any personal account on his name on Facebook. Check Mark Barata out when he's doing live shows so that you can see his face. Also check Mark, don't go and see a video that Mark Barata, they have just posted of Mark Barata. You see Mark Barata is live. You will need to see his face. Nobody should do a voice. See Mark Barata's face. And make sure that you follow him on the Southern Cameroon's activist front. You can follow him on Don Pasho. You will see all of those things. Or sometimes he might come on National Telegraph or go to SCBC and all of those stuff. Before I end this show, we encourage everybody who is fighting for justice to support any cause that will bring them justice. God bless you and thank you very much. I've been Eric Tataw on this special March 2nd editorial for National Telegraph. Make sure you stay pleased, stay happy, and stay on the path of the truth. And like I want to re-emphasize, it's a shame that ADF is harboring a Republic agent, like a government agent like Lucas Asu, who convinced fighters to drop their weapons. Remember that when there was an issue between Nambere and Tapang Ivo, I didn't come out to probably look at Tapang Ivo in that light. Tapang Ivo asked Nambere, it was on record, but I didn't condemn Tapang because there were some reasons, you know, you could weigh that, because Nambere is even worse. Tapang did not advise Nambere to go to Cameroon. He advised Nambere to come to the diaspora because he saw that people were stealing money and deceiving them. So if I didn't condemn Tapang with a lot of back and forth that we've had with Tapang, I didn't come to say, oh, Tapang, you're working with the Cameroon government. It will be absolute stupidity for you to think that there's anything like sabotaging Lucas Asu. He's not significant, but what he's doing is significant to destroy some of the good works that the ADF has done. So thank you so much. Remember, blessed. If you have not shared this video, make sure you share it extensively. We'll be coming up. The Dimples platform is almost ready. Beautiful for you to upload your videos. The only thing we don't have on Dimples is the live stream that we're going to add depending on how people will be coming on the platform. And so we want to thank you all very much. So don't forget, Mark Barata is not on Facebook. Somebody wrote that I have to reply that you are scared of Tapang. No, I'm the highest person who has been Tapang's nightmare. You know all. I went a lot investigating, put stuff out, and I told worse things about Tapang than saying that he's like a Republic, because he's not. So Eric Tataw is not scared of any Southern Cameroonian. He's not scared of any activist. He only speaks the truth and speaks it out loud and clear. Hate him, love him, but the truth will always be spoken. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Probably we'll see you tomorrow, next tomorrow. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.